Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Christopher McGee with Halcyon Real Estate. Today is November 14th. Let's look at the numbers. Okay, so today, as on every day that we do this, we're gonna go over 7 numbers that are all a way of looking at the Utah real estate market. Let's start with the number of current actives. Today we have 9,998. Average days on market for the last week actually came back down. They had jumped up to 50 and it jumped back down to 44. Okay, interestingly, the average amount difference between the price that a property gets listed at and the price that the property actually gets sold at, that has jumped to almost 15,000, 14,973. And that difference is getting a little bit bigger. 2 weeks ago, we had 12,300 and change, and then the week after that, last week, we had 13,000, just shy of 500. So now we're at almost 15,000. So the difference between what things are getting put on the market at and what they're actually getting sold at continues to get bigger. But that's interesting in the light of what some of these other numbers are doing, and I wonder if that will start to shrink in the other direction. So the number of sold properties last week was 368. That's down over 100 from the previous week. The previous week we had 484, and in the last week we just had 368 that got sold. But the number that went under contract or are accepting backup offers, which means they're under contract, it just also means they're accepting backup offers, that number is still about where it was. That number is at 4,870. The number of price reductions, that is shrinking. That last week was 1,234. Nice, even 1, 2, 3, 4 on that number. That's shrinking. The first week I did this, it was at 1,600 and change. Next week it was at 1,500 and change. Next week it was just under 1,500 at 1,490. And as of this last prior week, we're at 1,234. And finally, the number of canceled or expired or withdrawn properties from the MLS is 451. By the way, I had to change the way that I was looking at that number. I was making a mistake. I was looking at the prior week of canceleds and the prior week of expireds, but withdrawns was looking at the entirety of the previous month instead of just the previous week. So, but I've gone back and accounted for the difference in numbers and figured out what it should have been, so the graphs still show up as they should and my numbers still read like they ought to across the board. So the number of actives on the market is ever so slightly dropping, but it's under 10,000 for the first time in several months. The average time on market jumped down a bit by 6 days. The difference between average list and average sold is still getting bigger, but I wager that that is because they can't record the sold number until it's been under contract for its full, usually month, and they can now record at the end of a month the difference that we had. But what we're not seeing is the difference between what it's put on the market for and what the offer price is. I'm guessing in about 3 weeks, we'll see that this number starts to shrink the opposite direction. We'll see that the difference between average list price and average sold price starts to get closer in favor of whoever it is that's selling their property. Number sold prior week, again, is down significantly, and I think that's again showing the fact that we're not seeing how many things are going under contract. Because under contract and backups in the prior week stayed about where it was, but price reductions are way down. And so with all of this, the one number that I don't give that really matters here is what the interest rates are doing, right? And that's not my purview, that's a lender's purview, that's a mortgage broker's purview. I can get updates from my preferred mortgage broker, and I do, but I don't have a daily hour-to-hour eyeball on what that's doing. Last week it jumped down from hovering in the low to mid 7% back down to, depending on what kind of a loan you're getting, maybe 6.5%. It was a big jump. A lot of us are hoping that it continues to crawl back down. As the interest rates come back down, we'll see less things actively on the market because there will be a larger pool of buyers who are willing to hit the market and buy something with a lower interest rate available to them, right? A lot of the reason that we've seen the market shift the way it has, a lot of the reason we've had an explosion in what's available on our market, right? A year ago we had 1,500 active properties on the market. Now we've been hovering around 10,000 the last several months. Well, it's starting to shift down, and I think the interest rate has a lot to do with that. I think the interest rate jumping down has everything to do with average days on market. I think a lot more buyers hit the market within the last week and found that they were able to make offers on things that they wanted. I experienced that as a listing agent, as an agent that helps buyers as well. I saw more people get interested in what they could get and more people making offers on the things that are out there. On a week-to-week basis, this looks like perhaps the beginning of a shift, what I would anticipate to be a slow shift in the other direction from what we've had. I anticipate a slow shift if interest rates keep doing what they did the last week and slowly creeping down. There's no reason for them to rush down. But if they creep down, then I think we'll see a creep in the other direction of average days on market getting smaller. You know, the difference between the average list price and the actual price that it's sold at getting smaller. The number of things that get sold, the number of things that go under contract, I anticipate that to shrink if the interest rates are doing what they've been doing. So there you go. That's the numbers this week, and I'll see you next week. Hope you're having a good one.